So now I want to go ahead and bring up our UNC Charlotte Student Entrepreneurial Experience team. Dr. Justin Webb, who is Belk Distinguished Professor of Business Innovation. If you'll come on up. Banu is the Senior Vice President at Truist. We'll talk a little bit more about his position as we go through the panel. We have Dr. Patrick Madsen, Associate Dean for Advising and Experiential Learning at the Career Center. And then we have Dr. Jennifer Warner. She's the Director of the LEADS program and the Teaching Professor in the Department of Biological Sciences and my co-teacher for Ideas to Action. And we have Saliseah Scales with Urban Corps. She is the Student Engagement Fellow. So give everybody a quick round of applause, please. So first off, thank you so much for joining. And I just realized I'm going to be standing here this whole entire time. So this is going to be great. But what I wanted to sort of get together and really talk about, I've worked with all of you, and Banu, I've just met you, but you've done some great things with the College of Business. But everybody here is really supportive and really looking at core competencies and these career skills that students need to go on. So Justin, I'm going to start with you. You're leading the Entrepreneurial Certificate on campus. You're looking at entrepreneurship research in the Belk College of Business. Just sort of talk to us about the undergraduate certificate, what you're sort of looking for, and who can actually be a part of this.
I'll answer that question without answering it at first. I think, anytime we try to talk about the entrepreneurship programming that we're doing, why should students be interested in that? Not every student is going to do their own startup, right? Many students just want to look for employment. So why is entrepreneurship programming of interest to you? And I think, go out on Google and search what are employers looking for from employees in 2023, or I don't know if there's a 2024 list yet or not, but you'll find 8 or 10 different top 10 lists, and routinely on these lists are things like adaptability and creative problem solving and leadership. And there are some other things out there like machine learning and such, data science. But routinely, adaptability, creative problem solving, leadership, unstructured problem solving, those sort of things out there, which are things that we are teaching in the entrepreneurship program. So it's not only relevant to individuals that want to do their own startups, but it's also highly relevant to individuals that are looking to become employees within firms. Ultimately, Banu, I think, you're in a bank, which is a relatively stable industry, I would think. And y'all are highly regulated, right? So you can't do wild and crazy things, but y'all are innovating, right? Yeah. And so at the end of the day, y'all want innovative people.
Yeah, I think that goes right into what I was like. Why is Truist involved at UNC Charlotte? Why are you on campus? What's the importance of some of these activities that you're doing with the campus?
No, first I would try to answer your question, and then I'll get to. So, innovation is absolutely critical for everything we do. We have to, if you think about it, banks make money by doing repeated things cheaper, and you have to constantly innovate, right? 90% of everything we do, everything we make, money we make by doing repeated things cheaper. So think about that. There is a huge amount of innovation that happens in being more efficient every time we do it. And entrepreneurship is also about taking ownership, right? Taking accountability and ownership along with innovation. What we look for in people are those who can take ownership, right? It makes things easier. I always say the difference between leadership, a leader and a manager is in the excuse. So what we are looking for is people who could take ownership. Why is Truist at UNCC? Our mission and purpose is to inspire and build better lives and communities. So we started out with an interest to build a pipeline of talented individuals like yourself. And then it also happened that as we started building programs, it was it gave us an opportunities to work with students within our community. So it's multiple reasons. We get a lot of ideas from great talent such as yourself, and the pipeline for talent into our firm. In addition to that, we give something back to the community.
Perfect. Thank you. And talk just real quick, and then we're going to get to Patrick. But you just had an event that we were we came by and saw, but it was the immersive experience, and there was a lot of Bell College of Business, computing and informatics students there. But that sort of falls into what you were just describing.
Yeah. So we did this immersive program. It's a 10-hour program between Friday afternoon and Saturday. We had about 50 students from UNCC join, solving real-world problems. Truist Bank, we collaborated with Amazon AWS, Amazon, Verizon, and a startup called Wicked. In addition to that, we had our wholesale client, Intercontinental Hotel Group. We had a real-world problem, which students, we split them in 6 groups, solved, and the payments team actually won. So the winners got 75,000 hotel points each. So these were some amazing program, and this is the second year we are doing. We've done this 10 times since 2022 in multiple universities. I can tell you one thing, UNCC students really are as competitive as anybody. So
That's what we like to hear. Absolutely. So perfect. Oh,
What I heard was only hire UNC Charlotte graduates. That's what I heard.
what was that, Justin?
50 students that were there, right? How many executives were there from Truist, AWS?
Yes.
yeah, so we had a very good representation. So I'll tell you, our CEO for Consumer Bank was there. Consumer and Small Business Bank was there. We have our head of HR was there. We have our CIO. All 3 of them happen to be 49ers alumni. We also had our head of payments, our head of marketing and customer experience. We had a few other divisional CIOs. I was there. It's my program. We had a number of other leaders there. So it was a great opportunity from Truist, and then we had similar, a group from AWS leadership team. We also had a great group from Verizon, and they sent a team from Intercontinental Hotel Group. Their CTO was there. Their head of operations was there. So it's a pretty impressive event and a great networking opportunity for the students.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, that goes great into Patrick. So talk about some of the trends you're seeing across maybe the U.S., but then especially at UNC Charlotte, and how that sort of ties into this experiential learning and the career competencies and things of that nature that you're focusing on, because we've collaborated together on some projects. And
Have we? Just 1 or 2, right?
Just 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, trends in higher education. Let me take it that direction because I agree
Yes.
with my colleagues on the panel here. Ditto, ditto, ditto. Higher education has turned into this thing where we see it as you go into class, you do 120 credit hours, you get a piece of paper, and then magically you get a job. That was like so 50 years ago. And I think what Charlotte is doing with the Charlotte model is reimagining how you think of higher education. And really what it comes down to is your opportunity to design your experience, all these types of things, to say, this is what I want to do. This is the problem of the world that I want to solve, because you can't solve it all, right? But you can solve that little part. And how am I going to get the right experiences to educate me, to give me the experience, whether it's internships or project-based learning that my colleagues might talk about, and get out there with 0 debt, right? And great opportunity to solve those problems. And that's what Charlotte is all about. That's what I think we're trying to do with higher education. And I think that's the trend that we're going to start to see over the next 5, 10, 15 years as we think about this college thing, this thing that we do to continue to educate ourselves in many different ways.
Yeah, some
I'm
of
going to get my
the
soapbox out from under me.
well, some of the things that we've talked about is, the resiliency that students need to learn. And that's a lot of our programming that we go through. We have a micro-credential program that sort of funnels into the certificate program, but where it's sort of where we're packaging programs like that we're doing right now, this pitch competition, but we package it in a way where they're earning, they're actually gaining these skills, they're, resiliency, they're gaining problem solving, critical thinking. And those are things that you've talked about, and you've done, and we'll pass it over to Jennifer real quick. And in your classrooms, you have a variety of classrooms. You work with nonprofits. You also do focused learning on environmental issues, things. How are you bringing some of those skills into your classroom?
So the student population that I serve is typically from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which is now in 2 colleges, so Humanities, Earth and Social Sciences, and a College of Science. And I want to just echo what Patrick said. We are so behind in how we're approaching education based on how the real world functions. So one of my roles is to try to make sure that our students have real meaningful experiential learning. So our students can go online. They can look up facts and things that we used to have to teach them in a classroom. But when we start centering how we learn based on actually doing things and letting our students pick which problems they care about and letting them grapple with that kind of problem solving, not only does it help produce people who are ready to go out into the world and solve these huge problems that we're faced with, but also they're developing so much more by doing their work this way. So all of these career competencies that they can take with them and they can transfer them to any setting that they're going towards. So I think for me, this has kind of shaped how I approach everything I teach, whether it's my Ideas to Action class with Laura, whether it's my microbiology class for pre-medical students, or my class on becoming a climate catalyst, which is taking students who care about climate change and sustainability and putting them out there and getting them to do something about it. So I just think this lens of active approach to problem solving, thinking about career competency development, it's essential in preparing people for the world that they're going to go out into.
Perfect. And then we'll go to Saliseah. You're actually with Urban Core. That's a lot of community involvement. You do a lot of work with nonprofits. You do a lot of skill building as well. So what is the importance of those relationships in the community and on campus, and how you put forth with students doing those interactions and participating in these activities?
Yeah, so there's a huge importance for students engaging with their community. And so in a lot of the work that I do, it's really connecting students with their communities. And for a lot of students, UNC Charlotte is a big transfer university. So for some, coming into a new city and not really being sure of the issues that are impacting their experience as a student at UNC Charlotte, as well as in Charlotte as a whole, the importance there is really for creating like civic identity, personal identity, as well as just helping students really hone in on their passions and increasing like student engagement. As we've mentioned, some other students have mentioned earlier, that student engagement has kind of fluctuated in this current post-pandemic light. So really showing students that your involvement in UNC Charlotte as a community, as well as Charlotte as a community as well, really does enhance your academic success, your professional success, your personal enrichment, and it really does take you farther and helps you stand out when you go interact with other individuals like my colleagues here on the panel. And so there's a huge importance there for that, not just personally, but also academically and professionally. So yeah, and I might be biased, but.
Well, perfect. And then in talking with that, and we'll pass it back to Banu, in talking about the entrepreneurial thinking. This is, of course, that's what CEI is about. We really want to have students really take that critical thinking and problem solving. But what does entrepreneurial thinking mean to you being in a corporation at Truist? And what are you looking for in students as they come through?
I'm probably going to repeat myself because when he asked me the question, I just went right to that. So I think I had a conversation with my team today, actually, about ownership and accountability. So it's very important in a corporate setting. These are things that that are, often overlooked. And what we look for is something like that. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I had an intern who joined me from another university. And he had a specific task he was working on, but he was sitting along with right by our treasury group. And in his spare time, he started networking, working with them. And then I understood there was a problem they had. He went, worked on it, got that issue resolved, and saved a ton of money, and got a huge recognition from our treasurer. It so happened that he ended up working in the investment banking division as a result of what he did there. Small things, reaching out, identifying, taking ownership, and doing. That's exactly what an entrepreneurship is about, right? You saw an idea, you just came up with a solution, took ownership, and then did something. We need that one in almost every area. So that's what I would say. It's very important for us.
And how do you, but with you have different activities, that you do, but what are some other ways that you think students could actually, if you were talking to a student one-on-one and saying, here's some things to try besides the immersive experience at Truist, but what are some other things that you look for as, on resumes or when you're talking with students coming through?
So the soft skills, resumes are a little bit difficult. It's difficult to represent. Soft skills are very important. You guys were talking about creative writing. Ability to tell a story is very important. Having a crisp communication is very important. So those are absolutely critical. So every area, you need to be able to tell a story. If it is not interesting, nobody would listen. All right. So you have to sell your ideas to get it done. So those are important skills. So I would say work on your hard and soft skills. Soft skills, in fact, communication is more, I would say the verbal communication is also a very important skill. You need to be able to interact with people. Building relationship is a very critical aspect of growing in a corporate environment, as well as if you want to take an entrepreneurial lifestyle, because you have to be able to meet people and communicate.
Right. And then putting it over to Patrick, what are some of the things the Career Center does or events that are upcoming or that you have every semester?
Thousands and thousands of events. We're going to need the app. Who's my app person? So administration is here. So if you have a way to try it out. We do so much stuff, but I think a lot of the events that we do, a lot of the services, a lot of resources that the Career Center has and undergraduate research and many other offices on campus really comes down to helping you learn how to think, right? And there's two things that employers keep telling me for 26 years now, thousands of employers, all industries, two things that they're looking for. One, give me those who know how to think, right? And then the second one is show me those who find joy in what they do. I have never, ever, 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 ever seen a hiring manager or employer tell me, give me your most curmudgeon types of candidates. I want the ones that never smile, never seem to have fun. I've never heard that. Find joy in what you do. A lot of our services and events are helping you figure that out and then learn how to think. And you do that through cool classes like what she teaches and other faculty and all the other types of events that this university has.
And Justin, I know you have an interactive class in the college, and where you have it's basically just founders of companies coming in and talking. But what is the benefit of that, and what do some of your students take away from those types of meetings and those instances where they're in with the actual people doing the work?
Well, yeah, a number of different things. We've had Aru come in and speak in our class on maintaining versus relinquishing control as an entrepreneur, and Christine's also been in Chris Halligan and Rob Cummings' class. And we want to bring in entrepreneurs to engage with our students. As faculty, we can teach a lot of the theory, and we can give students experiences for putting their theory into action, right? You can have a great idea, but if you don't act on it, then it's a vision without action is a hallucination, right? So you got to be able to act on it as well. So we can teach those things, but we really need to have the entrepreneur engagement in the classroom as well, because our students need to have role models, and our students need to understand the mindset of entrepreneurs. And we can tell them about, you need to take risk, and that's what, but to actually have entrepreneurs come into the class and speak about the decisions that they made and why they made those decisions, and to see different types of entrepreneurs taking different types of decisions, and the students can start seeing, I can see myself in this entrepreneur's shoes, and I can think I can go down this path. So having entrepreneurs in the class is really important from a role modeling standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, and then ultimately a networking standpoint. It's getting the entrepreneurs in front of the students so they can start making those connections. And everything that we do, to simplify life, is decision after decision after decision. And y'all are making these decisions right now to develop yourselves as students, and you really need to take advantage. You can go out and have your fun, and you should have your fun and be happy, and that's one thing as well. But you should really think about, what can I do to develop myself as a student? How can I make these connections? How can I take advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of me here at the university?
Perfect. And then, talking about entrepreneurship in the classroom, Jennifer, I know our class, Ideas to Action, but I know that you do, and your other classes as well, you bring this entrepreneurial mindset. We've talked about this a lot. What is the growth that you've seen, or the difference that you've seen in the classrooms, or how the students approach? What have been some of the big takeaways that you have from that?
So for me, one of the things that I'm always trying to overcome is this stereotype of, what does the word entrepreneur mean? And a lot of students have a vision of what that means, and they don't see themselves fitting into that space. So for me, I'm thinking about access and getting students to the table to realize that entrepreneurship is really, it's a set of tools that you can apply anywhere you want to go. So we really think a lot about the mindset piece of things. I'm also really big on bringing in students from across many disciplines to work on problems together. So kind of taking that transdisciplinary approach. Very interesting things happen when you take a problem and sit down an English major, a biology major, a geography major, and a religious studies major. So for me, I'm always thinking about this as just helping students develop this toolkit that's going to serve them wherever they land after they leave the university.
Perfect. And then Saliseah, in talking about some of that, where Jennifer was talking about bringing that into the classroom, I know that you bring it into your projects, and you guys have a credential program where you're talking about those skills. What have you seen in some of the effects of that, and how can students get involved, or what are you looking for in those types of tractions?
Yeah, so I think a big thing that I've seen is students really have this aha moment with who they are, who they're becoming as a student at UNC Charlotte. And so with our community engagement credentialing program, students really have a lot of reflection and are learning how to connect like theory into practice behind like community engagement. So first of all, really opening the door. So what is community engagement? So I think that's our main and first initial point for a lot of the projects that we do, because a lot of students come in from high school with experience in volunteering with clubs or with their families, churches, different things of that nature. But as an individual person, what does community engagement look like for you? And then how do we plug you into the community to execute the skills that you're learning in the credentialing program? And then also, how can we really be with you and guide you through learning what that is. And so a big part of it as well is helping students to associate with challenges, social issues that are relevant to them, their identities, the communities that they come from, and the communities that they desire to serve. So what does it look like to connect with that and then also give back and different things like that. So it's really just a big piece of really discovering who you are, how to connect to the community, and also how to really place yourself in this weird world here, but how to also challenge the issues that are newly facing every single day as a student. And so that's really the main idea of a lot of our projects, but also how do you do it well and how do you do it confidently? So yeah, and it's an ongoing process. It's a journey. So really reminding students that no one will ever be an expert in a community. So really, how does it look to come in humbly and do that work as well? So that's a big part of that, yeah.
Great, thank you. So thank you all for being up here. I'm going to leave you guys with, I want you guys to define something, and this, I'm going to throw you guys a little softball. But at CEI, we really talk about making an impact. That's the thing, because entrepreneurship leads to that, but what we want to do is sort of gradually walk into there. How do students make an impact with their research, with their innovation, with their ideas? We really want to bring that out and show them the steps and sort of empower them. And I think everybody on this panel just sort of showed how to take those steps and how to sort of start. But I want to ask you, just as we all leave here today, when you say making an impact, what do you want students to take away? What is one thing in their college career as they go off into the real world, as they come into college, but what are some of the things where you think that what would you tell them how they could make an impact? And go.
So one of my favorite books is called First Break All the Rules. Go read that. That's my motto. I break all the rules to try to change things. Just break things.
Break all the rules. Gotcha. Check.
I think Peter Drucker once said that the purpose of a business is the customer. So if you're going to make an impact, know what that impact is. Understand your customers, understand what their needs are, and then work to address those needs.
Don't be afraid to fail. So failure is not a problem. Not trying is.
I want to echo the don't be afraid to fail, because I think that goes against everything we've learned in our entire educational experience. And I think just wanting students to feel comfortable that they have a right to be at the table when problems are being solved and that their perspective and their input matters. So just having those tools that you can apply, because we need our students to go out into the world and solve all of these massive problems. So they need to feel like they belong there.
I would say a big way is to really be authentically you in every space that you go into and find your passion and drive that into what you do. And then as well as utilizing your resources, be a resource to others. And so I think that's a big way to make an impact as well.
Perfect. Everybody, please give our panel a round of applause.